I used to think my college roommate Kyle was a pretty normal guy. We shared a tiny dorm room, played video games, and complained about professors. Your typical college stuff. Everything was fine. Until that day. It all started on a random Tuesday when Kyle walked into the room holding a plastic grocery bag. Inside was a warm rotisserie chicken for $4. Look, I love chicken. Everyone loves chicken. But the way this guy was eating it was primal. No plate, no fork. He just ripped open the plastic wrap with his bare hands and started devouring the meat in absolute silence. I was sitting in my chair, completely shocked, and I asked him, "Bro, what's wrong with you? Are you okay?" He didn't even look at me. He just mumbled with his mouth full, "It's efficient protein, man. Pure calories." All right, I thought, maybe he was just starving. It happens to the best of us. But on Wednesday, he brought home another one, and he ate it the exact same way, sitting on his bed in the pitch dark, staring blankly at the wall. On Thursday, he brought home two. By the second week, things got completely out of hand. Kyle stopped going to classes. He also stopped buying any other food. Our mini fridge was packed to the brim with those plastic containers, with yellow grease pooling at the bottom. The room started to smell like the back of a cheap deli. The smell of roasted skin and chicken seasoning baked into our clothes, our bedding, and my curtains. The worst part, though, was the bones. Kyle refused to throw them into the big trash can down the hallway. Instead, he stacked the empty plastic containers on top of each other in the corner, creating this sick, greasy tower. When I asked him why he wouldn't throw it out, he gave me this dead-eyed stare and said, "It's a transitional phase of the project. Don't touch it." That's when I seriously started to worry about his mental health. One night, I woke up around 3 a.m. The room was pitch black, but I heard a strange sound, like quiet chewing and crunching. I turned over real slow, and I swear what I saw broke my brain. Kyle was sitting cross-legged on the floor, in total darkness, illuminated only by the faint blue glow of his phone screen. He was holding another chicken. He was eating it at a pace that made it look like there was no tomorrow. I felt like his eyes were actually glowing in the dark. I whispered, "Kyle, for God's sake, it's 3 in the morning." He raised his head, a small bone sticking out of his mouth. He just said, "They're calling me, man." The price dropped to $3.50 a piece. You just don't get it. By the third week, I decided to act. This wasn't a dorm anymore. It was some kind of chicken crypt. I called for backup. I grabbed 2 of our friends from the hallway and we staged a classic intervention. We sat Kyle down in a chair and stood right in front of him. "Kyle," I started in a serious voice. "We like you, but you need to stop. Your brain is literally soaked in rotisserie grease. This whole room is a poultry graveyard. The fridge barely closes. You need a rotisserie rehab." Kyle listened to us in total silence. He looked weirdly calm. He got up, walked over to his closet, opened it slowly, and we all froze. Instead of clothes, there was a massive, intricately woven structure made entirely of chicken bones and string, like an art installation. Kyle turned to us with genuine pride in his eyes and said, "It's not rehab, it's evolution. I am building the perfect structure." That was the final straw. My friends noped out of the room in 5 seconds. I packed my essentials into my backpack and went to sleep on a friend's floor on another level. The next morning, I reported the whole thing to the dorm supervisor. They showed up with 3 campus security guards expecting the absolute worst. Want to know what they found? The room was spotless and perfectly clean. All the bones were gone. The fridge was empty and washed. And Kyle? Kyle was sitting at his desk, fully dressed, typing on his laptop. He looked at the supervisor, then at me, and asked with complete calm, "What's going on, gentlemen? Did something happen?" The supervisor looked at the room, then at the guards, and finally at me, with so much fury in his eyes, like I was the only psycho there wasting his time. He apologized to Kyle and they left. To this day, even though years have passed, I have absolutely no clue how he did that in just a few hours of a single night. Where did hundreds of bones go? Where did that massive bone structure in the closet vanish to? How did he completely neutralize that horrible grease smell? I don't know. A week later, Kyle packed his things, officially moved out of the dorm, and completely disappeared. He deleted all his social media and his phone number stopped working. Sometimes, after a long day, when I pass by the hot food section at the supermarket and catch that distinct, intense smell of roasted rotisserie chicken, I get goosebumps. I find myself looking over my shoulder, feeling this weird anxiety. Because somewhere out there, in some dark room, Kyle is probably still consuming his efficient protein and building the perfect structure.